I think it's kind of crazy to think that I'm 20 years old and the tech that we had back then is something like this for a camera. Like, you gotta think that cameras like this were a massive deal back in the year 2004, but that's not exactly what I want to talk about today, since I want to talk about something which had its anniversary. It's a little bit early, but I think it's a good reason to talk about the iPhone 6. So let's talk about it.
Oh, girl, won't you stop taking honey.
Now, as you can see, I do have all of the colors that the iPhone 6 was supplied with: the gold, the space gray, and the silver. And I do have to personally say that I do love the gold iPhone 6. In fact, I would actually imagine myself using one of these in the years of 2015 and 2016. Now, I will talk and say that I actually find the iPhone 6 to be an amazing design, at least in the design perspective, not really in the quality perspective, but I will say that personally I do love that the iPhone 6 design is this way. I know a lot of people say that they find it to be the least favorite design, alongside with like the iPhone 5S and the iPhone 4 having better designs, but I just love this design factor. Even then, something like the silver, in my opinion, looks really good. Honestly, if it wasn't for like the iPhone 10 and this stuff, this would be one of the better, like the last design that the iPhone would ever experience, although the iPhone X did come out, so 2014's iPhone 6 launch. The iPhone 6, when it came out, was a massive deal, alongside with iOS 8, which was coming out at the same time. iOS 7 was a massive redesign against what iOS was before, but the iPhone 6 really represented iOS 8 as well, which I will say, 10 million units in 3 days. Yeah, the iPhone 6 was very successful. The iPhone 6 was everybody's iPhone that they were waiting for. Like, they were waiting for the bigger displays, which also came with an iPhone 6 Plus model, which was a lot massive. It was actually 5.5 inches for the iPhone 6 Plus. Yes, the iPhone 6 came in a 4.7 inch display, which was a pretty large display even against like the iPhone 5S, but against the Samsung Galaxy Note phones, it was nothing. Adding the addition that iOS 8 was a massive deal breaker when it came down to these phones and also just the capabilities, yeah, these phones became more successful in the fact that just the iPhone 6 looked good to flex. I will also say that this was also the same time that U2 also forced their album onto you. Damn it! Why does YouTube have to be on my phone? Anyways, back to the iPhone 6. The iPhone 6 was certainly an interesting phone when it came down to generally Apple's design perspective, because it was usually either the 4-inch phones or the 3.5-inch phones, which came out before. But this was really one of those things where it was a big deal because of the, like, number one, the design change, and also for the fact that it was a bigger display. iOS 8 was also a massive deal. But I think another thing which was also a massive deal when this phone came out at the time was what the 6 Plus experience, which was Bendgate. You had an iPhone 6 Plus, you could bend the phone, which caused a lot of issues. Bendgate really did make wonder about the durability about these phones, especially with phones getting thinner at the time. Funny enough, LG was starting to really go thin even in 2015 after this design, like after the flaw with the iPhone 6 Plus. No one really realizes the same thing that this guy had, especially with, like, I don't know, the iPhone just having its worst year yet. I will say that this is not as bad as the Galaxy Note 7, because at least these guys could at least survive a bend. The Galaxy just kind of didn't do it. Although, talking about Galaxies, the Samsung Galaxies were still made out of plastic at this year. It wasn't until the very next year when the iPhone 6S came out when they finally had their own design language, which was called glass and metal and also curved glass. The Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge. Yeah, not the main point though. The main point is the iPhone 6 is 10 years old this year. And I wanted to talk about it because, well, I had a very specific reason why I bought, obviously for the fact of collecting, but also I really loved the iPhone 6 series, and also that voice crack was horrible. I hated that voice crack. The iPhone 6 was a phone which I really wanted as a kid, especially the iPhone 6S. The idea of seeing the iPhone 6 in other people's hands like Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, Justin Bieber, like it's insane to think that people use the iPhone 6. It was a massive phone when you think about how many people took selfies with an iPhone 6, even those mirror selfies where you can make it clear that you have an iPhone. I'm also filming a video, so I'll be getting back to you shortly. Looking at this against something like the iPhone 12, which I've recently upgraded to, it's really insane to think that these are not technically generations, like, because as much as that people would say that this is the 6th generation, it's not. But let's just say numerically, it's generations, which technically it is. These two designs are really surprising to look at because the iPhone 12, this is the iPhone 12 by the way, it's the iPhone 12, and it's kind of insane how this design and this is how phones, like this is how phones used to be, and I find it insane because I recently switched over to the iPhone 12 so I can make that point. I know a lot of people say that this design is still technically around because of the iPhone SE series, which I think is going to be upgraded soon. It's honestly the factor of the actual iPhone 6 which is important. And I want to say I really do miss the iPhone 6. And fun fact, I also used one of these earlier this year as my main phone. And I mean, there were some things which I was doing pretty well with this guy, and other things which I kind of just couldn't even do, like texting. I'm happy the iPhone 6 actually is 10 years old this year. And honestly, this is a really good museum piece. Also, there's something about these white fronts that just look good. How come we don't get that stuff anymore? We don't get that! We don't get it! At least I know Charlie Puth is looking good in this picture. So I will say, thank you guys so much for watching this video, which is basically just me talking about the iPhone 6. Comment, like, subscribe. I'm kind of tired because I worked today. I'm tired because I started a new job recently. And I will also say, stay tuned for when I talk about this Panasonic boombox. Bye!